Hello and welcome to our virtual postgraduate afternoon. I am Tom from the communications team and thank you for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you here and a pleasure to show you around Keele virtually. And hopefully throughout this afternoon, you'll see lots and lots of Keele and it'll feel like you're there just in person. So we've got lots coming up and I'll go through that first of all, just to get you all up to speed with what you've got coming up today. So if you're watching here on Facebook or YouTube, it's not just the stream that's happening. There's lots of things happening across the website. So we'll get everyone up to speed and make sure you know where you're going throughout today's postgraduate open afternoon. First of all, though, let's take a look at what we've got coming up on stream. So in around about 20 minutes time, we'll be starting with our beautiful campus tour, and I'll be joined by two of our current postgraduate students at Keele who are going to give you a self-guided tour around our campus. We're going to start at the top and make our way through, and you'll see pretty much all of campus, and as we go through, you'll be able to ask them any questions that you've got about things that you're seeing throughout the tour or just things about postgraduate life in general. They're two students who are studying postgraduate courses at Keele, so make use of them during that tour. And then we've also got a couple of other things happening as well. At 4:15, we will be joined by Keele Business School for a quick live Q&A. And then also at 4:45, we'll be joined by Nursing for another live Q&A. So if you're interested in either of those two subjects, do stick around for those. And then after that, at 4:45, I'll be joined again by our two students just for a quick Q&A, just to catch up on any questions that we didn't get to during any of the previous sections. And it's just another chance for you to ask them anything about postgraduate life at Keele. So that's everything we've got coming up on stream today. But as I say, there's lots of stuff happening elsewhere. So I'll just show you all of that too. So if you signed up for today's postgraduate open afternoon, you should have received an email with lots of useful links in. And one should take you to the landing page, which is kind of a hub of today, which houses all of the information, all about our postgraduate open afternoon. So hopefully you've got this page. And if you scroll down, you can watch a welcome video from our Professor Mark Ormerod, our Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Provost. And then from there, you've got lots of different areas that you can take a look at in your own time. And just to say, this website, this webpage will stay available beyond today. So don't feel like you've got to get through all this information before 6 p.m. You could use it, later in the evening or later in the week as well. You can have a look at our self-guided virtual tour, which I'll go through in just a moment. You can find out more information about your subject. And then you can also just have a look at all the different areas where you can ask questions. So you can talk to our admissions team, our accommodation team, tuition fees and funding, lots and lots of useful areas of the university to get answers to any questions that you might have. So as I say, there's also the self-guided virtual tour, which is virtualtour.keele.ac.uk. And this is split into 4 different areas. So you've got our Keele academic expertise and Keele investments, the Keele campus and student life, our accommodation, and then also facilities. So if I want to have a look at the Keele campus life, and let's take a look at Cherry Tree Walk. And you can just have a look at some 360s from around our campus. There's lots of different videos that you can watch, as well as different information that pops out throughout the tour. So again, make use of that in your own time. That's available 24/7, virtualtour.keele.ac.uk. Have a look on there whenever you can. And then also you get a link to all of the live activities taking place today. So I've just been through our on-stream schedule there, but you've also got lots of individual academic sessions. So whatever course you're interested in, hopefully there's a session today that you can head along to and find out more about that course. And they're all listed there. But again, hopefully you've got all that information in the email that was sent to you. But just to say, I would say the most invaluable resource that you can use today is keele.ac.uk/chat, and it's our Unibuddy page. And Unibuddy is just a tool where you can chat to students and staff from across the university on a one-to-one basis. So you can pop in your level of study and then select the area that you're looking for. And you can just chat to one of our postgraduate students. So there's Amy, who will be joining us later on. But then I can also do the same for staff, so I can look at the admissions team and chat to one of our admissions people from our admissions team there as well. So Unibuddy is available 24/7. It's available throughout the year. And if you pop a message on there, someone will respond to it as soon as possible. But just to say that staff are waiting on hand this afternoon until 6 p.m. So if you get your questions in, if you head there now, keele.ac.uk/chat and ask a question, it should be picked up by someone before 6 p.m, hopefully. But if not, don't worry, they'll get to it as soon as they can. And I'm actually joined by a lot of people from across the university to kind of introduce their area and tell us a little bit more about the things that you could ask them questions on. So let's bring in some of those now. So let's start with Megan. Hello, Megan.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon.
Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us about the admissions team at Keele?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Megan, and I'm a member of the Keele University admissions team. So we process all applications and all inquiries for admissions, including postgraduate ones. So if you do have any questions about, I don't know, maybe entry requirements for postgraduate courses or application deadlines, or maybe just a sort of a general admissions inquiry, then we'd love to be able to help you out. And we're available again till 6 p.m. this evening. So if you want to drop us a message via Unibuddy with your inquiry, the service there my colleague Tom was just speaking about, we'd be more than happy to answer that for you.
Amazing. Thanks, Megan. And we'll now head over to Louise from our accommodation team. Louise, tell us all about accommodation at Keele.
Hi. I'm Louise Cunningham, the Student Accommodation Manager. My team's here to provide you with support and advice on all aspects of accommodation. We offer dedicated accommodation on campus for full-time postgraduate students, starting with us in September. For part-time postgraduate students, or if you're starting your studies at a different time of the year, you may need to live off campus. Our team's happy to offer assistance and advice with all of this. We've got a website called Keele Student Pad, which we list reputable off-campus accommodation on, and we only advertise properties for accredited landlords. And it also includes a message board where you can find housemates. So if you've got any questions at all about accommodation, just get in touch via Unibuddy and we'll come back to you.
Smashing. Thanks, Louise. Heading over to Jackie from our international team. Jackie, tell us all about international life at Keele.
Hi, my name's Jackie and I work in the international team at Keele. And basically what our team does is recruit international students to come study at Keele. So I'm going to be here today on the Unibuddy for the international team. And here to answer any of your questions relating to being an international student at Keele. It could be anything from the visa to the different scholarships that we offer, some of the preparatory courses like pre-sessional English or foundation year, and also entry requirements from the country that you're from as well. So that's what we're here to do. So I'll be here till 6. I'm ready to answer any of your questions that you have.
Amazing. Thanks, Jackie. Then we've also got Linda from our student services team. Linda, tell us about student services at Keele.
Hi, I'm Linda. So I'm one of the money advisors within Student Services. So we can help you with any money queries that you have, applying for your student finance, eligibility for bursaries and scholarships. And we also have a hardship fund that students can apply to. And you apply for your postgraduate loan online. So if you have any questions about that, I'm here on Unibuddy all day. So please do get in touch.
Thanks, Linda. Now heading over to Bernie from our careers team. How can careers and employability help you today, Bernie?
Oh, hi there, Tom. So careers can help basically anybody who's thinking of doing a master's and then wanting to know what they can do with that course afterwards, or for people that know exactly what they want to do but want help with applications, etc. Then we're here to sort of help with that progression. So things that careers that you can go on to, applications that you might need help with, or if you're looking for part-time work whilst you're a student or volunteering, and how to make the most of your time effectively at Keele, then here to help. So here on Unibuddy, just ask any questions.
Amazing. Thanks, Bernie. And then last but not least, heading over to Katie from one of the most unique places at Keele, the Keele Postgraduate Association, which we're quite lucky to have. So Katie, tell us all about the Keele Postgraduate Association, or as many people call it, the KPA.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Katie and I'm the current president of the Keele Postgraduate Association. And so we are quite unique, like Tom said. We're one of only 2 in the country to represent postgraduate students here at Keele. So we're basically here to represent your needs to the university. We make sure that your voices are heard in all policy making, and we make sure that we can give you events and activities to make sure that you're getting the most out of your postgraduate experience and building a postgraduate community. So if you do have any questions, please do get in touch.
And also we've got the actual KPA clubhouse as well. Do you want to tell us a bit about the clubhouse?
Yeah. So we've got the postgraduate social space on campus. So we do run weekly events. We're doing as much as we can at the moment, given the current climate of COVID-19, but we are still open up and operating. And we do food there. We do sort of student discount on our drinks as well. So yeah, it's
an amazing place. Arguably the best food on campus. I mean, most people you talk to would probably agree. Katie, what do you order from there?
I don't know. I really like the Caesar salad. Like, it sounds like really healthy and rubbish, but it's actually really lovely. So yeah. And they also do really big burgers, like massive stacked burgers, and they're lovely as well.
And doorstop sandwiches and all sorts. Amazing place. Really, really cool to have on campus. So thank you, Katie, and thank you to everyone there. So again, if you want to talk to any of those, keele.ac.uk/chat, and you can chat to those. They're available. They're about to head off now, heading over to Unibuddy, ready and waiting to answer any questions that you've got. So keele.ac.uk/chat if you want to speak to any of those. They've just popped on stream. And there's lots of other people you can speak to on there as well. And there's also some blogs that you can make use of. So if you head over to the blog section and scroll down, there's just a few different blogs that you can read about revising, all written by students from across the university. There's Amy, who wrote a blog on top tips for student tenants on finding private accommodation. So lots of great stuff on there. So yeah, make use of all of that throughout today and beyond as much as you can. I'm going to hand over now to Professor Mark Ormerod to tell you a little bit more about postgraduate life at Keele.
Hello, I'm Professor Mark Ormerod, Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Provost here at Keele University. Let me start by offering a very warm welcome to our virtual postgraduate open afternoon. I'm really sorry we can't welcome you to our beautiful campus in person for the event, but I'm confident that our online version will give you a very good impression of both Keele University and the attraction and benefit of postgraduate study. I love working at Keele, and I'd like to take a few minutes to tell you why it's such a great place to come to undertake postgraduate study. So firstly, in terms of statistics and rankings, in the most recent postgraduate taught experience survey, the PTES, Keele was placed third in the United Kingdom for our business courses with an overall satisfaction score of 91%. We're also ranked in the UK top 10 nationally for the research opportunities offered to postgraduate students in the latest postgraduate research experience survey. In addition, Keele is a research-led university and 97% of our research was classified as world-leading or of international importance in the most recent Research Excellence Framework. We're really proud of our heritage here at Keele. Since the university was founded in 1949, our focus has been on providing not only a high-quality teaching and research environment, but also giving our students the opportunity to expand their knowledge beyond their subject of study, both within and outside the formal curriculum. Something that's particularly relevant in today's society. Our Institute for Liberal Arts and Sciences, based in the historic Keele Hall, promotes interdisciplinarity for postgraduate students and staff across all faculties in the university, offers a stimulating programme of events, including the Inspiring Grand Challenges lecture series, plus a range of conferences, workshops and seminars. In addition to this, all postgraduate students enrolling at Keele automatically become a member of the Keele Postgraduate Association, the KPA, a specialist students' union focused on promoting the best community, education, welfare and democracy for Keele's postgraduate students. It's one of only 2 postgraduate-only unions nationally. The KPA runs events throughout the year, including themed evening and lunchtime events, music, weekly coffee mornings, quizzes, wellbeing workshops and meetups for student parents. The hub of the KPA is focused on campus and houses its own vibrant bar with a good food menu, making it a really great place to meet up and socialise with fellow students and academics alike. The Keele campus is a stunningly beautiful green campus, the largest integrated campus in the United Kingdom, which provides an abundance of green space with woodland walks and lakes to enjoy. This fits incredibly well with our internationally leading reputation for sustainability. We were recently awarded Sustainability Institution of the Year at the Green Gown Awards. And we're also ranked in the world's top 100 in the Times Higher Education Global Impact League tables. two achievements we're incredibly proud of. At the same time, we're a relatively small and really inclusive cosmopolitan community, and one where facilities are all accessible within a few minutes' walk. Our graduates and alumni invariably mention the friendly, supportive and inclusive environment, as well as the beautiful surroundings, as real standout moments from their time here. As you might already be aware, Keele has published a 5-stage system of operation similar to the government's alert system in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. You may well have questions about how you will study. We're committed here to providing an excellent education, access to our academic staff and career support for all postgraduate students. In addition, we're opening up an increasing number of opportunities for more of our students who might choose to study completely online in a flexible way that could fit in with other commitments, whether that be work or caring responsibilities. Our academic staff and students are really looking forward to meeting you today, answering any questions you have about postgraduate study at Keele. So I hope you enjoy today, and we look forward to receiving your applications for postgraduate study.
Hello and welcome back, and I'm now joined by Emily and Amy, two of our current postgraduate students at Keele. So first of all, let's get you both to introduce yourself. Emily, do you want to tell us who you are and what you study at Keele?
Hi, my name's Emily. I'm a master's student. I'm doing human rights law.
Fantastic. And Amy, same thing?
Hi, I'm Amy and I'm in the second year of my PhD in English literature.
So we're going to take a tour around campus, but before we do this, make use of the chat. Both Emily and Amy are current students, so anything you've got, any questions you want to know about postgraduate life at Keele, pop them in the chat. And you're also two different postgraduate students, aren't you? Because Emily, you did your UG at Keele?
Yes, I did politics at Keele.
And then Amy, you did your UG at another university and came to Keele. So two different routes into postgraduate life. So if you want to know things about, if you're a current student at Keele, but you just want to know about postgraduate life, either of them can help. But if you're a student from another university, thinking of moving university, Amy's the one who can tell you all about that. So let's have a look at our campus then. First of all, what we'll do is we'll take a top-down view and have a look at where we are in the UK. If you've never seen Keele or don't know where we are, we're kind of in the Midlands, right between Birmingham and Manchester, about under an hour away from each on the train. So Manchester's the blue dot at the top, and then Birmingham's blue dot at the bottom, and all of those blue dots in the middle are Keele. And if we zoom into those now, we can take a look at our campus from above, and you can see the border of our campus there. So we do have the largest campus in the UK. But don't let that faze you. You won't be walking from miles and miles from lecture to lecture. Everything on campus is pretty centrally located, and the vast majority around the edge is just kind of green space to go for nice woodland walks, or take a walk through a field. And we've got big sports fields and things like that as well. So if we have a look at our local area, so we're in Newcastle-under-Lyme, not to be confused with Newcastle-upon-Tyne. So our local town is Newcastle, and then our local city is Stoke-on-Trent. So Newcastle's the blue dot that's just been highlighted now, and then Stoke is to the right, just over there. So one of you want to sort of talk about the local area? How do you find? So start with Newcastle. How do you find Newcastle-under-Lyme as a town?
Yeah, it's about 15 minutes on the bus, 5 minutes in the car, and there's loads to do. Got loads of little shops, and you've got your big supermarkets as well, like Morrison's, Aldi, Sainsbury's, Lidl. And yeah, you've got like cinema and things like that. So there's loads to do if you want to venture off campus. And then Hanley is a little bit bigger, so they've got a big Into shopping centre, and again like cinema and places to eat. So yeah, if you fancy venturing off campus, there's loads to do.
Cool. And then heading back to campus. So as I said, all the buildings that you're probably venturing inside of are centrally located around this. This is Union Square. It's the beating heart of campus. You can kind of get to anywhere from Union Square. And all the buildings are kind of located around there. And one in general to point out is that's our biggest building on campus is the Chancellor's Building. You're pretty much guaranteed if you're on campus to walk through there at some point during your time studying at Keele. And we'll take a look at that as we go through the tour. So yeah, that is our campus. So what we'll do is we'll head over to the main entrance, which is just over here. And I'll hand over to Emily and Amy, who can give us a nice walking tour of campus. So yeah, I mean, first of all, if we're at the entrance, how do you kind of find getting to campus? What transport options have you got?
I mean, I commute because I'm a local girl, Staffordshire born and bred, although I went away for my undergraduate. And I commute in, and it's a fairly decent commute. It's 40 to 50 minutes for me. It can be quite busy at rush hour peak times, but it's never, I've never been stuck or anything like that. And actually getting onto campus and parking can get busy when everybody's in. I have a parking permit to park on campus, and there are plenty of parking options as well. So
awesome. So we're sort of at the new area of campus, all the new buildings. So you can see the Courtyard Hotel there and the vet school that we're just panning across ahead of you there, and then heading over to the business school. Have you guys ventured up to the new section of campus yet?
A couple of times. I haven't been in the business school yet. I really want to because it looks really nice and funky.
Business school cafe is really nice. There's a nice working space at the bottom of the business school, which is often a bit quieter than the central areas of campus. It's open. There's some like desks to work at, and there's a nice cafe in there too. So it is lovely, and I want to check out the new hotel because that's also got a working space, cafe, and restaurant in it that we can make use of.
And then do either of you know about the solar farm that we've got happening at Keele? That's just so if you continue down past the vet school, you can go and have a look at the solar farm with 12,500 solar panels and 2 wind turbines being installed in there. It's very cool. It looks really, really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's another one of Keele's really cool, really interesting sustainability projects. We've got a few that we'll see on the tour that are on campus, and Keele is really well known for its sustainability. One of my friends is the sustainability project officer, so I tend to learn quite a lot about what's going on in terms of sustainability on campus.
So yeah, so buildings on campus then. So we're obviously passing quite a few. You've got David Weatherall there. How do the buildings work then? Are they shared spaces or are the individual courses that study in those buildings?
Yeah, so most buildings will have 1 or 2 courses dedicated to them. So David Weatherall is like medicine and all those kinds of subjects. But yeah, every so often you'll be in a different building, but most of the time, most subjects will have one building dedicated to them. And we're passing New Barns at the moment. I lived in New Barns. It's really lovely. These ones you can see here, these are en suites and you share with about 6 to 8 people. So yeah, these are really nice. Barnes also has some other blocks in there, shared accommodation where you share bathrooms with different amounts of people. So Barnes has a nice range.
You're our expert on Barnes, aren't you, Emily? You've done most of our Barnes tours for the open days. So if you do want to watch a full in-depth tour of Barnes on either Facebook or YouTube, if you go back through our live streams, you'll see our last open day. And Emily takes you through shared flats and houses, and then also the en-suites that you've just mentioned there.
So this is the coming up to the nursery on campus. The day nursery. It's really useful for any of our students and staff who've got children, but I know quite a few postgraduate students who have children at the day nursery and find having it really helpful because they can drop them off before the start of their day, go and do what they need on campus and pick them up at the end. And they take children from, I think it's 3 months to 5 years, but I will double check. I double check on the website, but I was looking for somebody who asked the other day. So it's quite a wide range that they'll take.
Nice. Another one of our sustainability things is the sustainability bungalow. Amy, do you know about the sustainability bungalow?
do, yeah. So every year there are 4 students who can apply to live in the sustainability bungalow, and they run a variety of sustainability projects while they're in there. So it's got a garden, so they grow things, and they also get involved in other sustainability campaigns on campus. You can look at them up on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure they've got a Facebook page as well. Under the Keele Sustainability Bungalow, and you can see all the sorts of interesting things they've been getting on with this year and doing. They've given away like free seeds, done a vegetarian cooking video, all sorts of things.
And then just ahead of us now, so there's a few different buildings on campus that house external businesses. One in front of us is Cobra, who are manufacturing the AstraZeneca vaccine on campus there. And up at the top, we went past some of the IC buildings. So you got IC 1 through 2. What are we up to now? Are we up to 6 at the moment?
6, I think. Yeah,
with a 7th on the way. And they kind of are these hybrid buildings with external businesses in, which are great because students often get to do placements with the businesses that are in there. So yeah, and Cobra is one of our more interesting ones at the moment because they are manufacturing the vaccine for COVID. And heading over now to our sports centre. Either of you been in the sports centre, made use of the facilities?
Yeah, I used to play netball in first year, so a lot of our sports societies will have training and games either outside or indoor depending on your sports. We also have a gym upstairs, so you can be a member of the gym as a Keele student. But yeah, it's really well resourced. We've got volleyball and all your like more mainstream sports like netball and rugby. And then you've got sports I've never even heard of before, like korfball. Still don't know what that is.
Go on, Amy. Another one of our sustainability projects there, High Deploy. I'm going to test all your sustainability knowledge as we go through.
Yeah, this is the High Deploy project. The first phase of the project has just come to an end, but it was basically about putting hydrogen back into the energy supply network to utilise for creating energy, to put it simply. It's more technical than that, but that's the way that I understand it.
Cuts our carbon emissions.
Yes.
That's all we need to know.
It makes the campus more environmentally sustainable and helps us in our goal of becoming carbon neutral. So, and there's hopefully going to be a second phase of the project as well.
So what is korfball? Emily, explain it to me.
I actually don't know. I think it's a bit like netball, but I actually don't know.
There's lots of cool things happen. I mean, I'm guessing Quidditch will use these courts as the sort of open spaces as well.
Yeah, I always forget we've got a Quidditch society.
Yeah, my favourite one.
Yeah, it is
Can't
cool.
beat a bit of Quidditch.
Hundreds of societies.
In terms of membership, then for the gym, do you have to have when you join us? What's it like joining a sports team then, Emily? Like was it netball? Did you join? Did you say?
Yeah, so I think some of the sports societies do have access to some of the gym as well. But yeah, you have, so they use the training facilities here, and so you have trainings a few times a week depending on the sport. And then we also have the most common one is the Bucks leagues. So you'll play games against other universities and things like that. Some of them have like separate leagues where you just play local teams. I know like football have like a Sunday league where you play locally. So lots of game time, lots of training and things like that.
Awesome. And we're going to go past one of the gymnasiums is on the left now, which is currently the COVID test centre on campus. Either of you been to campus much at the moment? Or are you mostly online?
I'm mostly online at the moment, although I was up at campus last week studying in the library because I just fancied a bit of a change of scenery. So I booked a study slot and went in for the day. And the library we'll pass it later, but that is another COVID secure area. So campus is quite quiet at the moment, but it's definitely starting to feel a little bit more back to normal. There are more people on campus. There are students in the library studying. There are people wandering around. So I'm hoping to start to get up there sort of once a week again.
This was filmed on Friday, so I was there on Friday doing this. You'll notice that campus is quite quiet until we get to one particular spot. And then you'll see a lot of people, and I bet you can guess where that spot is. Where everyone, I mean, look at the sky and look at the weather. Yeah. You can guess where everyone was on campus this day. Yeah. So a couple of questions coming in. One is just wanted to know the charges for 3 months for shared rooms. So best thing to do with any accommodation stuff is either head over to Unibuddy, keele.ac.uk/chat. Our accommodation team are on there, so you can ask them about a very specific room if you want to. But all of the prices are on the website as well. So if you go to keele.ac.uk and look for the accommodation section, you should be able to find all the breakdown of all the different rooms that you can have on campus and how much they cost. Questions around COVID. So some of our COVID requirements change quite regularly, but the place where they're mostly up to date is if you go to keele.ac.uk/coronavirus, as soon as we know of any changes or any processes that are happening on campus to do with coronavirus, they get updated on there. So currently students on campus take a test twice a week. In the test centre that was just behind us in that gymnasium there, and then they go off and do that as well. So, and I think we've actually just given out some vaccines as well, which are due to take place soon. So keele.ac.uk/coronavirus, all the coronavirus information is on there, including our 5-stage plan that Mark spoke about in the welcome video. Rewinding back a bit there, we went past the Newsom building. Either of you know what happens in the Newsom building?
So the Newsom building is counselling and mental health support. Now, if I remember correctly, and I'm sure Tom will tell me if I don't, it was the first counselling service on a university campus in the UK. So it's fairly historic in terms of the history of kind of counselling and the way that counselling is done on a UK campus. True.
So Audrey Newsom, who was one of the members of staff at Keele, set up our counselling service, and it was the first in the UK. And now the building's named after Audrey Newsom. Another one of our kind of specific buildings, isn't it? Colin Reeves. Either of you know who's in Colin Reeves? We're about to head up to the sign anyway.
Yeah, I'm maths and computer science, but I haven't really been in there.
There's some great computer There's some good computer labs in there. Really interesting kit.
And is that where the Overclockers esports lab is as well?
Believe so, yeah.
Yeah. And then just heading up to the media building, which no points for guessing which course is in that one. It's of course media. Which buildings do you guys mostly in then?
Chancellors.
Yeah, I was gonna say I pretty much live in Chancellors.
Which section though? Come on. It's a big building.
My lecturers are all in Chancellors B, so English is mostly in the B bit, which looks like a banana. So that's how you remember which bit's Chancellors B. My office is in Chancellors A, so which is the main bit where the cafe and the study space is.
Yeah, I used to be in A for my undergrad. I should be in C at the moment, but because of Corona, I haven't been onto campus much. But that's the law school.
C was kind of the back. You saw it there. We came up to the back of it as we left the sports centre. Cool. And another place, if you live on campus, that I'm sure you'll make use of, coming up to you on the left, is the post room. Emily, I'm sure you made use of the post room whilst you were in halls.
I am there all the time. Yeah, I'm in halls at the moment. So yeah, all post, if you're on campus, goes to the post room. You get a little email if you've got any packages or anything like that. And you just head down to the post room and everything's all in one place.
Your own personal concierge service.
Very
What's that? And then another one of our new buildings on campus. Amy, tell us about the CSL building.
So Central Science Laboratories is where obviously a lot of our science courses are. It's very shiny. It's very new. I've been in and I was like, ooh, so shiny. I don't have a reason to go in there other than for campus tours, but it is really nice. It's got some really like top class laboratories and things in there for the science courses. And it is accompanied by a building that we shall see very shortly, I would imagine, which was opened last year. So we'll probably loop round to shortly.
It's a great building. And another ambassador, Mustafa, he loves apparently the top floor is just a huge open computer lab. Yeah, and it's the one thing he always goes on about is this huge, ginormous computer lab on the top floor that has these great views of campus.
I study in there all the time. I have no reason to go in there, but it's such a nice study area.
It's one of the nice things, actually, because all the buildings are separate. But if you do find a study area that you like to be in, you can go and use them. So I like to study up at the business school sometimes, even though I'm based at Chancellors, just because it's a nice environment.
So we've got Dorothy Hodgkin and Hornbeam there. Is that right? Did we just pass?
Yes, yeah. Hornbeam and Dorothy Hodgkin, which are geography and geology, I want to say.
No, that's William Smith. So you got psychology and Dorothy Hodgkin's. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. And you've also got Hornbeam is the pharmacy building.
Pharmacy, yeah.
a great question, and one that's very relevant to you two that's come in, is are there part-time job opportunities on campus? Yeah. Which, I mean, you're currently doing right now.
Yes, you can come and join us and be a student ambassador, and try and remember what lives in all of the buildings on campus and do actual real-life campus tours. But there's also job opportunities in the student bars and restaurants on campus. So the SU and the KPA, which we'll go past when we get down to Union Square, both take on student staff as well.
Yeah, there's loads of shops and cafes in Newcastle as well. So, so that's always really handy.
And as an ambassador, you get to do lots of different things. You'll see some of them as we go through this tour as well. The people in the high-vis, they're giving people currently walking tours of campus. So obviously we couldn't hold our normal open days on campus, so people have been coming, and our ambassadors have been showing them around campus in individual groups. So you'll see those. There's the banana bit. There's B, so that's where you have your classes then, Amy?
Yep. I have most of them in there, and I have some of them in A, and I've been into C like once and got lost, but it's a big building.
Just before we head to student services, another question come in. Can we study on campus after college hours or class hours?
I mean, the library's really good for that, and Emily, you might have experiences of other places as well.
Yeah, I think the library is 24 hours in term time. But yeah, I'm not sure about some of the other buildings and some of the study areas in the buildings. I assume they will close at some point. But yeah, the library's 24/7, so that's really handy if you're pulling an all-nighter.
Building closure on Chancellor's is pretty late. I've been in Chancellor's until 9:30 at night. Security will come
I want to say.
Yeah, security will come around and kick you out if you getting up. You won't get locked in there. Security will come around and give you the heads up, but you can study in there in the evening.
And then, so just behind us there, that building was the Student Services building. So, Emily, do you want to tell us about Student Services at Keele?
Yeah, so any sort of student support you need, financial support, disability, dyslexia, timetabling, anything like that, that's probably your first point of call. So it's a good building to remember. They're really helpful in there as well, and they'll point you in the right direction.
Question, where are the psychology lectures located? So we just went past Dorothy Hodgkin, so some of them will be in there, but also, as I say, Chancellor's has some of the biggest lecture spaces on campus, so you may find yourself having some classes and tutorials in the Chancellor's building, which we just went past as well. Union Square, the most important place on campus, because it's where everything is. So yeah, one of you want to just walk us through, kind of point out the different bits that we've got around Union Square?
So ahead of us is the Students' Union, which is not the only Students' Union on campus. It's one of two. But in there, you've got a bar, you've got a shop, print room, some eating places. We've also got Chapters Cafe, which is our new cafe. Now, the cost cutter is changing. My understanding is that there is going to be a shiny new co-op coming to campus for the next academic year as well. And then we've also got a little pharmacy on campus as well, which is really helpful if you just need to pop and get something. And obviously, they also do things like your flu vaccine you can book in there as well, which is really helpful.
And as a postgraduate student, we've obviously had Katie on who told us about the Postgraduate Association, but can you also make use of the Keele SU as well and head inside there and use Keele SU's facilities? Yes?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. I tend to be more in the KPA just because I like the atmosphere, but I go into the bottom half of the Keele SU all the time. I'm less in the Squirrel, which is their bar, but the Outback's really nice. They've got like an outdoor seating area, and downstairs the food options are really varied as well. Good for takeout too.
So heading into the most important building on campus, the library. This may have changed actually since you both last went in. So yeah, give us a tour around here.
Yeah, it looks a little bit different since I last went in with all the COVID things. Yeah, you just saw the self-checkouts for the book. So if you ever need a book, you just use your Keele card and you can scan out all your books. We have loads of different types of study area. So this usually is a group study area. You can go with your friends, or if you've got like a group project, this area is really good for that. But we also have silent study. We have computer study. We have a study where you can eat your lunch. So loads of different types of study rooms, and we have like private study rooms that you can rent out as well. So if depending on how you work best, there's something for everyone. Careers is also in here. Careers send out emails like quite regularly every week, every month, and with like job opportunities. You can book an appointment with them anytime if you've got like a CV or an application you're sending off, and they do workshops and things like that to help you to write a really good CV or whatever it is. We also have IT and tech support in here, so if you're having like Wi-Fi problems or anything like that, they can help you out in here.
So as I say, so some rooms are flipped. So that first room we went in is now just self-study, silent study for yourself, not group study anymore. That first room.
That's right. Okay.
Now they've redone this bit, so this has had a little bit of a touch up.
Yeah, this has all been made fancy. I mean, it was nice before, but this is the refreshments area, which is there's lockers down here. So if you don't want to have your stuff with you, or you want to put your bags in, you can get a locker key and lock your stuff up for a bit. The toilets are also on this ground level and sort of those kind of bits, and there's coffee machine and a snacks machine as well for if you just want to stay in the library and have something to eat, or you can bring your own food and eat in the refreshment area as well, in sort of non-COVID-y times. And then on this upper story, you've got a lot of the books. At the moment you have to click and collect on your books, but
don't be alarmed by the huge X's. They're not normally there.
They're not normally there. But you have bookable study desks at the moment, and also these bookable study rooms. So I was in one of these last week. They're just an individual study room that you can book.
They were telling me they're really popular, those little study spaces are.
They're really nice
useful.
because you can have the door open if you want and hear other students, but if you really want to deeply concentrate, you can just close the door and it's just your space for the afternoon or for the morning.
So heading past the chapel then, so this is where you kind of finish up your degree, isn't it, at Keele? And hopefully once the pandemic's out of the way, we can go back to having graduation ceremonies in the chapel, and you can don it. We were just talking about this before we went on, Whitley, that you want to pretend you're in some Hogwarts environment and wear your cap and gown.
Yeah, it's a really nice space, and the chapel's lovely actually, because there's obviously, as well as being a chapel space, there's also things like they do tea and toast and they have free tea and coffee in there normally as well. And then the research centre is another important space on campus. It houses a lot of the offices for senior members of staff, as well as things like the Right Direction Service are based in there, who can help with academic writing and writing support.
So a couple of questions around specific courses. So is there any computer science masters with placement year? Will the uni and how good is computer science master's course at Keele? Best thing to do there is go to keele.ac.uk/chat and talk to someone from that course, and they can tell you all about that. So any really specific questions around your courses, head to keele.ac.uk/chat, and there'll be someone on there who knows the answers inside and out. Anything to do with sort of generic postgraduate life, Emily and Amy are here, unless you want to ask about the courses. So just what courses you guys on again, just in case anyone's interested in those.
I do human rights law.
And I'm English literature.
Human rights law and English lit. So if you are interested in those, pop a question in the chat and I can ask Emily and Amy those. Will the uni life get back to normal by September this year? What a question. What an interesting question. I think the answer is we really do hope so. And things are looking positive with things reopening, but the thing is just we don't know at this point. We hope to see everyone back on campus in September, and that's kind of hopefully the plan at the moment. But if you go to keele.ac.uk/coronavirus, you'll find all the information there. So as things evolve and develop, and as the government ease restrictions, we put all of our new information on there. So fingers crossed, we'll be back on campus in September, and things will be back to normal or new normal, whatever that looks like. But yeah, if not, Keele have got lots of plans in place, plans A through to Z, it feels like, of anything that can happen with coronavirus. So hopefully we're back to normal in September, though. My favourite lab on campus, though, is the David Attenborough lab. Amy, tell us all about the David Attenborough Laboratory.
So this is what I was saying was the other shiny new building to accompany Central Science Laboratory. So we just went past the School of Life Sciences, and obviously David Attenborough Labs is sort of attached to it. And it was opened, as you might expect, by David Attenborough. I think you can still see his talk online, can't you, that he gave?
Yep. Yeah, so if you search for David Attenborough at Keele, you can watch his talk that he gave in Chancellors back in March 2019, I would say.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I wasn't able to, I didn't get tickets to get into the space because obviously we could only have a certain number of students, but I did watch it online and it's really good. It was a pleasure to have him on campus.
And then just past Leonard Jones and the Crime Scene House there.
Yeah.
So lots of forensic science and I think astrophysics are in there as well. And heading through Lindsay now, so another one of our accommodations. So Emily, what accommodation options have you got on campus? Of the 4 halls.
So Lindsay is a good one because it's got 2 types of accommodation in. So you've got shared and you've got en suites, and those are like the main types. But obviously, each different accommodation you share with different numbers. So whatever you fancy, there's something for everyone and something for everyone's different budget. Lindsay is actually my favourite accommodation on campus. I really like Lindsay. It just seems like wherever you are, you have really nice views. Like you're either looking into this little courtyard or you're looking out over like the farms. You can see all the sheep and the cows and stuff.
And you got lots of social things as well. You got the common room. You got Lindsay Cafe and Bar. Especially when the weather's like this, it was amazing.
Yeah. So these ones here are en suites, and you share a kitchen. Well, you share a kitchen with 4, but the diner is with 8. And so you'll have 8 people in a flat, and then an ensuite. And then as we go through here, there's some other ones. Lindsay's a bit complicated, isn't it? It shares with lots of different numbers, and in the shared ones, there's lots of different numbers. So it's not just a standard. I think there's lots of different people you can share with. So whatever you fancy, if you want lots of people or if you don't want too many, but you still want to share, then Lindsay might have some options. But then down here is Lindsay Cafe, Bar and Shop. So in the day, it's like a cafe. You can go in and get something to eat. They have like pool tables in there. You can grab a drink. And then, in the evening, it's like a bar. So people go for like birthday parties and pre-drinks and things like that. It's really nice to have that super close to your accommodation. And the Hexagon is like a common room. So comfy sofas if you've got a big group of friends. It's nice to get out of your accommodation and go somewhere comfy to just chill with a big group of friends.
And then so the other halls, so this is Lindsay, you've got Hollycross and the Oaks, you've got Barnes, and you've also got Horwood as well, haven't you? Which ones have you stayed in, Emily?
All of them.
Have you done all of them?
I've been in all of them because I've had friends in all of them. But I've lived in Barnes. I'm currently in Hollycross and I'm currently in the Oaks, so Hollycross and the Oaks. I used to live in Hawthorns, but that's gone now.
Connoisseur of halls at Keele.
I lived in Lindsay for like one night because my shower broke, so they put me in Lindsay for the night, and so I had a room and a shower, and it was really lovely.
Nice. So Emily, how you done your undergraduate at Keele? Have you done a foundation year as well?
No, I've been here 4 years. So 3 years for my undergrad and 1 year for my master's. So Keele expert.
Keele expert. And the halls connoisseur. It is, as you say, Lindsay is kind of it's got very pretty views from all angles. So we're going up kind of the path leading away from Lindsay now and heading towards Clock House. So we're kind of going behind the library, behind the geography and geology building, and down towards the music school. It's a really nice walking route, this, isn't it? It's
really lovely. This is where, because tip for anyone who comes to park on campus, there is often parking at Lindsay and behind the back of Keele Hall, because the big car parks in the centre of campus tend to get filled up a bit quicker than some of these car parks on the edge. And people think it's a long way to walk, but it's really not. It's from here to the centre of campus is maybe 5 minutes, and you can walk in, and there's, on a nice day, this is really lovely because you get like squirrels. The famous Keele squirrels are like bouncing around all over the place, and it's amazing that from the centre of campus, within a couple of minutes walk, you can just feel like you're in the middle of the woods. with sort of bird song and things around you and not really being able to hear anybody. It's great.
And just in front of us now is one of our walking tours that I mentioned, so guided by one of our ambassadors. It was great to see lots of people walking around campus as well and having tours. It's really nice. So heading to what I call the crown jewel of Keele now, the historic section of campus. Other than this section, where would you say is your favourite section on campus, other than Keele Hall and the grounds and the clock house? Where's your favourite section to go?
Top of CSL.
Nice.
I think I really like the study spaces in the library. I just like the fact that it doesn't matter what mood I'm in, there is a study space that I can use. Like sometimes I go and study in the refreshments area because I like that buzz of people around me, and then sometimes I'll be in the sort of silent study rooms or in a single study room. So I actually do really like the library because I think it offers something for everybody.
Yeah.
And a good question that's come in case we don't get the accommodation within the university, are there any other options to stay nearby off campus? I think, Amy, you wrote a blog about this, did you?
I did, yeah, because in a previous life, I used to work in a state agency and lettings in the local area. So I have a blog post, which if you go to the chat page on the website, then you can click on blogs and look for them. There's tons of off-campus accommodation in the local area, both student-specific and sort of more generally for if you're coming with a family and you want something that isn't student housing. And Keele do have a website called Student Pad that you can use to help you find approved off-campus accommodation that is with regulated landlords. So there's lots of tips on their web pages as well.
Awesome. Question about parking. Are there any student parking spaces and how much do they cost?
Yes, there is student and staff parking. There is a parking allocation, so not everybody gets parking who applies. It isn't guaranteed. You do have to apply for it. There are, I should say, lots of other ways to get to campus, buses and nifty new e-bikes as well that are being trialed that will speed you. E-scooters that will get e-scooters. I always get them confused with e-bikes that will scoot you up and down the hill. And so, yeah, parking cost, I don't know what it is for this year. Last year as a postgraduate, I paid £50 per annum as a postgraduate research student.
Changed this year because they reduced it because of Corona, so
yeah.
Don't know. Yeah, probably
in my MA, I paid a little bit more as well, I think, because it's slightly less for researchers than it is for undergraduate and taught students.
If you go to keele.ac.uk/parking, there's lots more information on there as well about getting to campus, and then also paying display parking, student parking, and all that useful stuff. So head to there. Coming around the back now, so we've just gone past the clock house, which is where music is, and then heading around the back of Keele Hall. As I say, you'll suddenly see campus spring to life with people in a minute on the lawns. Have you guys ever sat out and had food on the lawns, played?
Yeah.
I tell you what, there's a lot of frisbee at the moment. I didn't realise how much people love frisbee.
We are a frisbee society. It's like ultimate frisbee.
Yes.
It's great. I mean, it's so lovely, this part of campus, and yeah, I've been working in my office and just looked outside and said, no, it's too nice today. I'm going to go and take my books to the lawn at Keele Hall and read there and soak up the sun. Or you can bring picnics here, or you can buy food to take out and bring it here. It's just really, really nice.
Nice if you've had a stressful day looking at your computer all day, and you can just go for a walk in Keele Woods or sit on the grass with your friends. It's really nice.
It's been last week was incredible. The weather, blue skies all week pretty much, and it's just so nice to just go and sit out there in the sun. And there's loads of different variety of spaces. You could sit under a tree in the shade if you want to. You can sit on the lawns, which is just seems to get sunshine all day long. And yeah, it's just nice views. Very Instagram friendly is Keele Hall.
It's lovely, and in the winter, it's even it's really nice still. I mean, we get people who go sledding when there was snow in the winter. You get people who go sledding on the lawn, or just build snowmen and things like that. It's a really nice space to have, and I think some people look at Keele Hall and say, oh, but do you ever actually really get to use it? And yeah, it's part of our campus. So whilst there are conferences and events that go on in there, there's also staff student common room in there that is open to postgraduate students, so you can go and have lunch in there if you want to. And you'll often be in there for one-day events and conferences and things once we have those back in person again.
Yeah, and as Mark mentioned in that welcome video as well, there's the ILAS lecture series, the Institute of Liberal Arts and Sciences, where they get guest lecturers from across the UK and sometimes internationally as well to deliver guest lectures on kind of their expertise. And they're also all recorded online, so you can go back and watch some of them if you're interested. Head to youtube.com/Keele University, or search for Keele lectures and talks on YouTube, and you can find all of the past ILAS lectures on there. There you go, there's everyone having a sunbathe on the lawns.
It's just really lovely. And what's really nice is that because Keele is a community as well as a campus, we have a lot of staff who live on campus as well. Then you do get people of all different varieties. So you get like parents groups meeting up on the lawns with small children, and then you get groups of students. So it's hugely varied as well.
Just a couple more questions. So we've got... how long will the university take to respond after paying the initial deposit? I think, I'm guessing that's a question around accommodation. If you, again, head to keele.ac.uk/chat, our accommodation team are on hand and ready to answer your questions up till 6. If you haven't had a response, if you paid a deposit or anything like that, or you just want to chat to them about accommodation, best place to do it is keele.ac.uk/chat and just talk to a member of our accommodation team from there. Do you have any recommendations for students staying off campus? Amy, any recommendations on how to, I guess, stay integrated into the community or not feel kind of like, not feel left out on anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think the events run by the KPA, which we're coming up to shortly actually, is a really good way, because they do a lot of events for daytime. So there's a lot of, there's like coffee morning that goes on. There are various daytime events, crafternoons and things like that they run in addition to evening events. I mean, because I have to travel between sort of 40 minutes and an hour depending on traffic. If I'm on campus, I tend to be on campus for a long day. So I'll get up to be on campus for 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then I'll probably stay on campus till about 6, 7 o'clock, which does mean that if I want to, I can go and join in with sort of dinner at the KPA or something like that. I mean, I was really worried when I came back that being a commuter student would affect me feeling integrated, but it really didn't, because I started going to a few KPA coffee mornings, met other commuter students, met other mature students, other people who weren't living on campus, and you sort of find your tribe, and then you start going out and doing things with them. And there's also seminar series and lecture series going on. So like we run a monthly seminar series in humanities, where you can come and meet other humanities students, and that's normally done over lunch. Obviously at the moment it's online, but normally we get some sandwiches in, and then we listen to a paper being given, and going to things like that is a really good way of meeting others as well.
Someone's asked, for internships, who do we have to connect with? So best thing to do is talk to our careers and employabilities team, so keele.ac.uk/chat again, and you'll find the careers and employabilities team on there, and they can talk to you all about internships and that. For those who maybe weren't here for the introduction, does one of you want to go through the KPA? Who would argue spends the most time in the KPA?
Sounds like Amy.
I did, yeah. I mean, I was KPA trustee for a year during my master's, so I'm a big fan of KPA.
There's the KPA, and then there's also what we just saw, which is the KPA Clubhouse, isn't it? So they're the same thing, but also two different things at the same time, aren't they?
Yeah, so the Clubhouse is essentially just what it says. It's a clubhouse. It's a bar come restaurant come cafe. They do food, amazing food, really good vegetarian and vegan options. But there's also the KPA, the wider organisation, and they are the students' union for kind of postgraduate students. So we have officers who sit on committees who specifically look after postgraduate issues, who run activities, and they try and run activities in different bits of campus. So although the Clubhouse is very important, the KPA tries to make it's not all about the Clubhouse. We have activities going on in different spaces across campus as well. Although the Clubhouse is really, really welcoming and really friendly, if you want to, if ever I'm looking for a smile and a welcome, you can go into the KPA and you'll get it. It's lovely.
And so for those of you kind of familiar with the Students' Union, they're very similar to a Students' Union, aren't they? They just represent postgraduate students. And one of two, which Katie pointed out earlier, which seems to be less. I swear it was more than that, but it seems to be less.
They've lost a couple just in the last 3 or 4 years. So Keele really is quite unique in retaining its postgraduate Students' Union. And I do think it's really important. Like, we have a KPA bursary that specifically helps to fund projects that are run by postgraduate students. So if you need money to attend a conference or to run a specific project, then the KPA bursary can help you with that. And during the last year, the pandemic, it's expanded to try and help students with other costs, like if you've had to order books because you can't get to the library as often, or you've had to upgrade your computer equipment so that you can engage in your classes.
Yeah, it's a very, very popular place on campus. And yeah, the clubhouse is one of the best spaces, I'd say. Great food. Can't recommend the food enough in the clubhouse. So that's it. We've kind of gone from top to bottom of our campus there, seen pretty much as possible through one route. That's kind of the central bit, isn't it, with all the buildings. Surrounding that, you've got woodland walks. Have either of you done any of the woodland walks on campus?
Yeah, I'm there all the time. They're so nice, and there's so much to explore. Like, I haven't gone through all of Keele Woods in the 4 years that I've been here because it's just so huge.
It's great as well. Like, at the moment, you've got Bluebell Woods, which is just a sea of bluebells, which is incredible. But yeah, there's lots of different routes, isn't there, Emily, that you can take? I think as you go down past Keele Hall to the lake bit, there's a board with all of the different routes that you can take, different walking routes that you can go on. And you can actually get to Keele services, can't you, through the woods? If you go all the way through the woods. Yeah, you can get to Keele services. You've got which way you've got KFC, haven't you, down there on Keele services, which I know some students walk all the way down to. Question coming in: is there any extra support available for student parents? Either of you know that one?
In terms of additional financial support, I'm not sure. There is certainly additional support for student parents in terms of the student groups, for a start, that are centred around student parents. One of my friends is involved in the Stoke-on-Trent Mothers Network. There is also a partner. It's not just mothers. There is a fathers network as well for student fathers. And they often run meetups locally, not just on campus, but in the Keele area. And then the clubhouse have also done a number of family-friendly events. So they've done, they did like an elf walk a couple of times around the garden when it was socially distanced and things. And they before lockdown, they were doing parties and events. They've done craft events for student parents as well. So there's plenty going on. And I know there is obviously formal university support as well, which I think you can find out if you go on the student services web pages.
So yeah, if you want to chat to student services as well, they're here till 6 on keele.ac.uk/chat, and you can talk to one of the student services team specifically about extra support that's available for parents. So we've got a couple more minutes, so if you want to ask any questions to Emily and Amy before we hand over to our next section, which coming up is the Keele Business School talk, feel free to pop it in the chat. But I'm interested to know what it's like what was the biggest differences for you going from UG to PG? What things did you experience in that sort of transition, and what's the biggest change? Let's start with Emily.
I was really nervous and really scared. I thought it was going to be horribly difficult compared to what I was used to, but it wasn't. And I don't know whether it's because I stayed on at the same university, but obviously I'm in a different school still. But yeah, they were all really supportive, and all the lecturers were really supportive and gave lots of like assessment advice and feedback. So if you were still sort of stuck in undergrad, they would help you out with any improvements you needed to make. So I didn't personally find it too challenging. The only difference, I think, was that I had to write an extra 1,000 words for each of my essays, but it wasn't too bad. It was fine.
And Amy, same question.
I mean, the fact that I was 10 years older but had a completely different setup was a huge change. I was so worried about was worried I'd be old and that I wouldn't fit in. I didn't realise the range of postgraduate students that there are. You know, you get people from all different age groups, and you do come together as a community. And the classes really help that. You know, the lecturers are really supportive. I think at postgraduate level, you do have that slightly closer relationship with your lecturers as well, because there are less of you. So they get to know you more, and you get to know them. And obviously, you generally have a supervisor for your projects as well. And that really helps support you to that transition of having fewer classes and doing more of your own independent research and work. So like Emily, I ended up finding that I'd worried about it far more than I needed to, because it was actually a very smooth transition, and you're not just thrown in at the deep end. There are plenty of things to support you, both within your course and also from the academic development team at Keele as well, who run courses and classes to help you.
Awesome. Question come in. Would love to know if there are any forms of scholarships or grants. So if you want to look at any scholarships and bursaries, you can do so on the website. If you just search for Keele scholarships and bursaries, there's a list of all those there. But if you want to chat to anyone about those in particular, you can chat to the admissions team or talk to the student services team as well, and they can sort of help you through with any funding for PG that we have available. But for you guys, what made you choose a PG then? What was it about moving on from UG to PG that kind of you thought was a good move to do? Amy?
Well, I wanted a career change. So as I mentioned earlier, I've been an estate agent for 11 years, and I wanted to go into academia. I really missed studying, and so that meant doing a PhD, and that meant doing an MA. So I just wanted to try it out and see if I could do it, and I love it. So I'm now doing some part-time teaching whilst doing my PhD, and it's been the best decision I've ever made.
And so how is it coming from a different university coming to Keele for the first time in a PG level as well? How was that?
It was a little bit nerve-wracking. I went to Aberystwyth for my undergraduate, which is another beautiful university and quite similar to Keele in that it's a campus university. So what attracted me to Keele was the fact that when I visited Keele, I felt the same level of community as I'd felt there. And I was really impressed that somebody from my department took the time. I couldn't come to an open day, and they took the time to actually just invite me to come to meet them. And then I did a self-guided kind of tour, which was really helped allay my fears that I wouldn't fit in, and also that I wouldn't kind of be able to cope with the level of study, because I had that chat and they were like, no, absolutely, you'll pick it up again. It is like riding a bike. They're skills that you don't forget, the skills that you learn at your undergraduate level, and the MA just helps you build on them.
Nice. And Emily, what about you? Why PG?
I think so I did politics, but I really liked the human rights side of politics, and so it was more to get more specific, really. And also, degrees are quite common now. Everyone does one, so it makes you stand out a little bit if you've got a master's. So in terms of actually getting a job, just another year of qualifications, I suppose. But yeah, mostly to become more specific in a particular field.
More questions. What is the percent of postgraduate students living on campus? Don't know the exact percent, but Emily, there are some like specific. They tend to group some PG students together, don't they, and put those in halls so that you're with other PG students.
Yeah, they try. So they have specific accommodations if you need longer contracts, which a lot of master's students do. So I'm in 51-week contract, so I've been put in Oaks B specifically for that. So you're with everybody who also has 51-week contracts, and then obviously a lot of those are master's students or postgrads. So you get put with a lot of similar students. They really try hard to put you with people who are similar to you.
Nice. Can we join any clubs or societies we want? Are there any restrictions as a postgraduate student on clubs and societies? Nope. Nice and simple. Do you find you have less or more time for societies, or just the same?
It's different.
Yeah, it sort of varies. I actually probably joined more societies as a postgraduate student than I did as an undergraduate. I think when I was an undergraduate, I was so caught up with being away from home for the first time and making new friends that I sort of forgot to join any societies. But during my first postgraduate year, my master's, I joined a couple of the societies, and it was great because suddenly I was like friends with all different people. Right, I had like a friendship group that ranged from age 18 to like age 65. It was great. There's so many variants of people. It was lovely.
Nice.
Yeah, I think you have more independent study as a master's or a postgrad, so you can fit in more time for societies and stuff because you're more flexible with your time. You can do studying at different times, so I think that's why it's a little bit different.
We're slightly running over a couple more questions that I do want to get through before we hand over to John. Amy, you kind of touched on this earlier, so I'll give this one to you. Someone said they're worried about being too old. They're 28 and this will be their third degree. What would you say to someone who's a mature student?
Well, I was 33 when I went back, and I was also worried about being too old. But I think Keele is such a varied campus, as I've said a few times, and there really are students studying at all different ages. So my course, I had a cohort of 11 on my master's course, and there were 3 of us that were counted as mature students. So myself and another person who were in their 30s, and then we had somebody who'd retired. So he was in his 60s and had come back to do his course at Keele. And we never felt left out because you're all doing the same thing and you're all struggling with the same things. You know, you're all panicking over your assignments and worrying about your research and your applications. So it kind of acts as a leveler. You're all essentially students, and that's what binds you together. And as I've mentioned, I have friends who are student parents. I have friends who are undergraduates. So the campus nature of Keele, that Keele bubble effect, really does help you to get to meet people and to find your particular tribe within the bubble. It's great.
Awesome. And then finally, is there a student bus pass for those commuting in from the nearby town? Either of you had the bus pass?
I had a yearly one. So when I lived off campus in second and third year, I got a yearly pass, and they did a student deal for that. So it worked out a lot cheaper to pay for the whole year, and they do like monthly passes and they do like 10 trip passes, so there is lots of different deals. I don't know if that will change by September, or that's what it's like at the moment anyway.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. We'll be back with you after we've done the 2 different live Q&As, just for a quick wrap up and chat about other postgraduate things at Keele. But thank you for the tour. So heading over to John now, who will be joined by the Keele Business School, who can talk with a live Q&A from them. So any questions you've got about our business courses, feel free to ask them in just about a minute's time. So thank you both, and I'll see you in a short while.
Good afternoon and welcome to this live Q&A session for Keele Business School, running as part of today's virtual postgraduate open afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm John. I'm pleased to be joined by Dr. David Atkinson, who is the Director of Marketing and Student Recruitment in Keele Business School. So we're going to be here for about the next 20 minutes or so, answering any questions that you may have about postgraduate study within Keele Business School. Just a quick note that neither the Facebook or YouTube streams are restricted, and so they will be accessible after today for you to come back to if you wish to revisit them. Just before we get started with the questions, I'll just hand over to David to introduce himself, and I believe he's got a few brief slides as well to talk through as an introduction. Over to you, David.
Hello everyone, thank you Jonathan, and welcome everyone, wherever you might be in the world. I hope it's sunny wherever you are. So I'm Jonathan, Dr. David Atkinson. I'm one of the senior managers at Keele Business School, and hopefully I can answer most of your questions today about the postgraduate taught experience at Keele Business School. One of the things to say is well done on thinking about a master's degree, and especially one in business, because all the data out there suggests that having a master's degree has a massive career benefit in terms of your salaries going forward. One of them is in terms of the Sutton Trust talks about an extra £200,000 across the lifetime of your career, which is basically a price of a house. So for this extra year of study and investment in your career, it really does pay off. And even the BBC talk about, before you're 30, you'll be earning 40% more with a postgraduate degree compared to those without a postgraduate degree. So, it seems like a great investment in your time going forward for a master's degree. Thinking about a business degree, though, we've got some, stats that are coming out about marketing, management, finance, and the finance world. Again, an increased earnings capability as you go through in your career. Marketing, an 11% increase with average salaries with a postgraduate degree in marketing around about 40,000. Management, an increase of about 24%. Average salaries getting up to 52,000 with a master's degree in management. And the finance, average salaries in the finance world, if you're looking at finance or banking or investment type masters that we offer, you're talking about an average salary of £70,000. So, for an extra kind of 12 months of your learning and development, these things are essential for those careers that you have ambitions about. And of course, based on those stats, we've got a range of master's degrees in KBS that are from marketing, management, international business, banking and finance, accounting. There's a whole range of those degrees which will accelerate you through into some of those stats that I've been looking at. So, Jonathan, what kind of questions have we got?
Brilliant. Thank you very much, David. Mixture of questions here then. So we've got a few that we've pre-prepared, so we'll sort of cover a few of those. But if anybody does have any questions relating to anything that we're talking about, any questions at all, any courses PG level within KBS, please do pop them in the chat on either YouTube or Facebook, and we will answer as many of those as we're able to. So David, maybe just to start, could you just give us a bit of an overview maybe of the range of courses that we offer at PGT level at Keele?
Yeah, so the slide that I'll put up now has the range of master's degrees that we have, and there is international business, we've got management, we've got marketing, we've accounting and finance, management, we've got HRM, banking and finance, investment management, entrepreneurship and innovation, and business analytics, which is a real big growth area at the minute in business. And these are both full-time and part-time master's degrees, so there's flexibility in how you study. So yeah, great range to look at, which are on topic in terms of what's happening within the business industry at the minute.
Brilliant, thank you, David. And obviously there's a range of business courses offered across universities around the UK. So what would you say is unique about the master's programmes that we offer at Keele Business School?
Oh, that's a good question, because we've spent a lot of time in Keele Business School developing our approach to education. And basically we have a mission for students. And that mission for students is to develop you into the business leaders of tomorrow. And the way we do that is through a kind of synergistic approach, which we call the authentic business school. Because most universities, and the university is about knowledge, but we've combined not just superior knowledge, because we're a research-led business school, we've got high quality research, international level research, but not only the knowledge is important, but skills and being able to use the knowledge is really important in a business career. So the way we structure our master's degrees at Keele is that we make sure that you're on tune with superior knowledge based on our professors and our lecturers and our researchers within the courses, but also there's a great deal of work in terms of making sure that you are able to use that knowledge, those skills, and the development of those skills and behaviors. And that is with a big package of stuff that we deal with here. So we look at, because those that might not know, is that Keele Business School is also a fully functioning kind of business center. So we have 20 companies in that building, which you will, these are companies you will interact with. These will be companies that will be part of the courses. The part of the assessments on these courses will be with those companies, as well as others as well. So we've got this hybrid structure of assessment. It's not just exams. It's not just assessing your knowledge. It's how you use the knowledge, how you analyze financial reports, how you make decisions. This is really important for those accelerated careers. Not only that, you have the opportunity within the master's degrees at Keele to do internships within the degree. We don't want you to do an internship after your master's degree. That's nothing what we want to do. So we've got the Keele Research and Innovation Support Program, which is basically a small 100-hour project you can do. These are paid at £10 an hour. They're on real life business problems and opportunities that real companies have, and they want to access your talent and fresh ideas to help them with those ideas, help them with those problems. And these you'll be supported with an academic alongside. So again, you're starting to build your CV within the degree. We also participate in the Santander internship scheme, which is placed around 400 students. Again, you're paid to work on a project with a real company, with an academic supporting you alongside. Again, building your CV as you're studying with us and learning with us. Not only that, we have the ability for you to go to our language center. So if you wanted to be, working for BMW or working for Nintendo, BMW being a German company, Nintendo being a Japanese company, you're probably going to need Japanese and German. So our language center on Keele's campus, you can walk up free of charge to them and sign up to basic German, intermediate German, whatever it is, to develop your language skills for that business career that you're after. But the most important thing in developing your skills is all to do with the third semester. So this is the semester. If you join us in September, your first semester is September to Christmas, and then from Christmas to Easter is the second semester. The third semester is from Easter into the summer period. And this is where you have the choice of 3 distinctive and quite unique pathways, work-based pathways. This is where we have the built-in work experience type view. So the 3 pathways to develop your skills and experience further is that you can choose to do a work placement. So we have a dedicated work placement manager in the faculty called Sharon. You can choose to that. She will support you in your applications to companies that you're interested in, and she will, regularly post out jobs that are available for students of this level. We've had great success here. So, 70% of our students that are placed on the work placement are earning over £20,000 before they've graduated. And again, some of the companies and government departments that you see on the screen are all where students have been placed with us. Bosch, Nintendo, IBM, the Government Economic Service, JCB, Bellway, HM Customs and Revenue, Amazon. These are all companies that we have had students or do have students at them. So again, these aren't small companies. These are world-class companies. If you're not quite keen on that, because the work placement route pathway is from anything from 8 weeks to 12 months. So that's the time period you would take that pathway. If you're looking for a slightly shorter pathway, the consultancy project is maybe one for you. So this one, again, is about building your experience, being able to use the knowledge that you're learning in your degree. And in this one, you are teamed up with a company They've got a real life problem or opportunity that you'll work on. You'll be supported with an academic in that area. And again, you'll be learning from the expertise from the academic, working on the real life opportunity or problem, and then really providing those recommendations to that live situation, that company. So that's 8 weeks to 10 weeks. So it's a slightly shorter one if you are perhaps wanting to go back to your home country, or perhaps you've got a job already, on the cards to leave when you've got your masters. The last one is quite an innovative one, and this is the entrepreneurship pathway. Now, if you have real ambitions to run your own company, we will support you. So if you select the entrepreneurship pathway, you can do this across 8 weeks to 12 months. You'll get office space within Keele Business School alongside the other businesses within that business school, and you can start to work on that company, develop that company. Some of you might already have started your own company, so you can progress and continue to develop that company. Some of you might have an idea to start a company. No matter what it is, we'll support you on the entrepreneurship pathway. Again, you'll be able to access office facilities. You'll be able to access a diet of development of sessions to help you develop the company, as well as expertise from academics within the Keele Business School. And you also might be able to access funding to support that business as well. So there's great opportunity for those who are thinking about developing their own company and have an idea and want to pursue it. And again, that's another option that you can take to really use that knowledge to pursue a company of your own choice. So in terms of how we're maybe different, or how we drive that mission in terms of developing you into the business leaders of tomorrow, there are so many opportunities in Keele Business School. I can't get them all in. That's the problem. I can't get them. You can tell how fast I'm speaking. I'm trying to get them all in. So, if you're really keen on a business career and you really want to get that knowledge, but also the skills and abilities and attitudes and behaviours, Keele Business School is set up to do that. That's how we've set it up.
Brilliant. Thanks, David. I can testify that you certainly tried to fit it all in there. That was a cracking and very thorough answer, so thank you for giving so much detail. So you've obviously touched on a lot there. So if there's anything there that David just mentioned that anyone's got any questions about, please do pop them in the chat on either Facebook or YouTube, and we will answer as many as we've got time for. Just wanting really to maybe pull a few different areas out there, though. But just to get started, and I know this will vary by course, but how many people would you say roughly study postgraduate courses at Keele Business School? What can people kind of expect in terms of class sizes and things like that?
We're quite a small school, so I've worked at universities across the country, and they have in their business school they'll have 10,000 students. I know if you're looking at the Manchesters, the Liverpools, they are huge. The Londons, they're huge amounts of students. Keele Business School in total has around about 1,500 students. In terms of their postgrad body at the minute, they have around about 50 to 60 students. On individual courses, it varies, but again, it's quite small. MSc in marketing at the minute is around about 12 students. So it's quite a close-knit kind of grouping and cohort. And the reason we like that is because the transmission of knowledge and skills is done better in a smaller situation. And as a smaller school with there's a more collegiate learning between, academics, business professionals, but also students. So yeah, it's not a big school that we want to have lots and lots of students, because you just get lost in those numbers. You just get lost.
Great, thanks, David. Had a really good question that somebody's asked us here, David, saying that they themselves have got a geography degree. So asking which degree path would you suggest in the business school to be the best? Yeah,
because these degrees aren't designed to you don't need an undergraduate degree in marketing to do a postgraduate degree in marketing. You don't need an undergraduate degree in business to do a postgraduate degree in marketing. So the way we've designed these degrees is that you can come in from geography and you could enter onto the MSc in marketing, and you would take you from an undergraduate level but accelerate you through to a postgraduate level. So you shouldn't be afraid that you're not from that background. And actually, as a geographer, there's lots of opportunities as a geographer for senior managers in all sorts of different companies that are related to geography and the natural sciences. They need managers, they need marketeers, and they need people to understand the sciences in order to market that organization in terms of the market it's in. So don't be afraid. The only one I'd say, if you were a geographer and you were trying to think about the maths based degrees, just make sure you've got a good background, maybe at A-level in maths, to go into those. But I wouldn't say you need a maths degree to go and do investment management or accounting and finance. You'll be taken through the steps from undergraduate level to a postgraduate level quite quickly. So yeah, as long as you're dedicated to it and you want to get on in that degree, go for it. That's what I say.
Fantastic. Hopefully that answers your question, and if anybody does have any further questions, please do continue to post them on Facebook or YouTube. We're here for a little over 5 minutes still to answer any questions you've got about postgraduate study in Keele Business School. So something that you touched on earlier, David, you mentioned a bit about assessments. Could you give us any more detail on the kind of different types of assessments that there are on these programs?
Oh yeah, so there's a whole range, and again, one of the things is not about exams and just testing your knowledge. It's about being able to use that knowledge in a business setting. So, for example, I do a global marketing course, and you'll be developing a global marketing strategy for an organization. So, I will select the organization, or we'll have an organization come in, and you'll basically, from the learning you do in the course of how you approach global marketing, you'll be designing a strategy, you'll be analyzing, looking at data, making decisions, being practical with those decisions. So, how are you going to brand this organization? So there's also presentations, whether there'll be live presentations within a room, or there'll be recorded presentations, because COVID's changed the world, and a lot of things are we record presentations, we are doing things live over camera. That's a natural thing now due to COVID. So yeah, I mean, there's a whole range of practice-based assessment. So don't think you're going to be thrown into lots and lots of exams. That's not the case. Report writing, presentations, analysis of financials. If you're talking about some of the financial degrees, looking at HR policy. If you're looking at the HRM degree, developing a HRM policy, as part of the HRM degree. So a huge amount of practice-based assessments to develop your skills ready for that third term when you go off into a placement or go off into a consultancy project to further practice and develop your capabilities in the area that you've chosen.
Brilliant. Thanks, David. And I suppose it's really just a few years ago that we opened our new Keele Business School building, or Smart Innovation Hub, as we also call it. I think it feels like it was sooner than it was a bit because of the pandemic, to be honest, but it still very much feels like a new building on campus to us. How are those facilities and the equipment within that building used in the teaching of the postgraduate courses?
It's a smart, really social space. So it's got a big atrium in the middle. Now that atrium is where there's a cafe, there's the study areas, but that's where not only students and academics mingle, but also those businesses that are situated in the building. Remember, there's 20 businesses in that building, and it's growing. This is a social space where you will rub shoulders with these businesses. Some of those businesses will be part of your assessments, and you will see people, and you'll develop that networking, that social network. And that's really important in business. I mean, I can only say from my own career, networking with people, the opportunities that I've had. I came to Keele because of those opportunities. I was asked to apply to a senior job because of the previous social networking in this environment. So that's really important part of the building, but also advancements in terms of learning. We've got the Harvard style room, which is a horse-shaped room designed like a Harvard type lecture theatre, where you're kind of all circling around and being able to stimulate discussion. That's quite a unique room, that one. And again, this building is there to facilitate learning. So it's all about, you could be having a seminar or a discussion with an academic about strategy at 11 o'clock. when that finishes at 12 o'clock, you could be wandering a couple of corridors down that building into a meeting room with a company and working with them on that strategy, their strategy based on your learning, and bringing that learning to life. So this kind of authentic business school approach is really important for us, that you are able to not only just know things, that you can do it quite quickly from learning it, and that's important for us.
Great, brilliant. I think we've got time for probably one more question then, David. So does Keele Business School welcome international students onto our postgraduate programs?
Very much so, very much so. And actually, when we look at the academic staff base and the researchers and the professors that we have within Keele, there's a very diverse background of staff. So we've got staff and professors from India, from China. There's a huge amount of diversity in the staff base. So absolutely, everyone is absolutely welcome. And you know what? The Keele campus is a brilliant place to stay. I mean, it's 600 acres of rural English countryside, and Keele Hall, obviously many of you may have seen Keele Hall. It's away from the big cities, the big dangerous cities. You will be safe on our campus. So yeah, absolutely, it's more than welcoming, and you should please, if you can, visit to see the campus, because it is a beautiful place to stay.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, David. So, as I say, unfortunately, that is all that we've got time for here. Thank you very much for joining us for this live Q&A for Keele Business School, which is part of today's Postgraduate Open Afternoon. And many thanks to David for joining us to answer your questions in particular. Apologies if there were any that we didn't get to, but we have got staff and students available on Unibody today and in future as well, including David. So if you have got any follow-up questions, please do feel free to ask David. So in around about 5 minutes time, I'm going to be back for another live Q&A, this time answering any questions that you may have about Keele's MSc nursing programmes. But otherwise, hopefully you found this Q&A useful. Hope that you enjoy exploring everything else on offer as part of today's virtual Postgraduate Open Afternoon. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome back to our live Q&A. We're going to be here for the next 20 minutes or so looking at Keele's MSc programmes in adult, children's, learning disability and mental health nursing. I'm John. I'm pleased to be joined by Ivan McGlenn, a lecturer in adult nursing. So just before we get started, I'll just hand over to Ivan to introduce himself.
Yeah, hi. I'm very pleased to meet everybody. My name is Dr. Ivan McGlenn. I'm a registered nurse. I'm also a registered midwife, and I've taught nursing for about the last 16 and a half years. And I currently work at Keele as a lecturer in nursing, and I'm the award lead for the Masters in Clinical Nursing.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ivan. So, yeah, we're going to be live for the next 20-25 minutes or so. If you do have any questions about any of the postgraduate nursing programmes at Keele, please do pop them in the chat on Facebook or YouTube, and we will answer as many as we've got time for. We have got a few that we've pre-prepared as well, though, just to start things off.
Yep.
So, Ivan, shall we start maybe? Could you just tell us what the entry requirements are for these programmes, please?
Yeah, well, this is an accelerated master's programme, and it's a 2-year programme. And so the requirements are somewhat more than than academic that we require. Certainly, we require a first honours degree, normally a 2-2 in any subject. And with that, we need English language and maths at GCSE at A to C, again, or the international equivalent of that. Our additional requirements, because we're a professionally regulated course, we need to be sure that the person is of good health and character. And all applicants, when they're selected for interview, they will have to undertake a disclosure and barring service assessment as well. Okay, but because we're doing the accelerated nursing programme, one of the things we ask the candidates to do is a recognition of prior learning portfolio. So they have to make a claim. And this demonstrates how any previous care experience that the applicants have undertaken can contribute to achieving the aims and outcomes of the year one of a programme, if it had been a 3-year programme. And that would equate to the equivalent of sort of 770 hours theory, 770 hours practice. But what we do is we support people in this, because as you can imagine, it's quite a daunting thing and probably an unexpected thing to do for a post-registration programme. And we do workshops, and we're available to support people throughout the whole of the process to help them articulate the kind of care experience that they've had. Okay.
Great. Brilliant. Thanks, Ivan. So we've had a question that's been asked here then, asking how many places do we have for children's nursing? But maybe we'll just expand that out slightly. Do you know, even just roughly sort of how many places there are on the 4 different MSc programmes?
Well, I think it's a movable feast at the moment. I mean, really, we nationally we're looking to increase the numbers for children's nursing. We're looking for essentially the right candidates. That's kind of the thing that steers us. The right candidates, which are dependent on the number of placements which are available within our area to support people. Okay, and we made aware of how many nurses that we should be aiming to recruit. But really, we're looking at the right people, the right motivation, and the right candidates. But there's certainly it's an area which we're very keen to expand on: children's nursing and learning disabilities nursing.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ivan. If anybody does have any questions, please do pop them into the chat on either Facebook or YouTube. We'll answer as many as we've got time for today. So, Ivan, we sort of have different types of nursing programmes which seem at a glance quite similar. So we have the 4 programmes at both BSc level and MSc level. What's the difference between the two when they at first glance seem to be so similar?
Well, outwardly they may appear to be, but straight off you're doing a higher level of academic study, and that's the point of this. It's an intense programme. It builds on already developed academic skill sets, and what we're trying to do is develop this professional responsibility and develop your ability to respond to technical complexity in relation to patient care. And we're looking for an innovative practitioner who's going to take the profession forward. Someone who essentially is going to become a leader, developing safe, competent, evidence-based nursing practice. Somebody who's going to adopt and take forward professional values, attitudes and behaviours. Somebody who's, again, going to have elevated leadership and management skills commensurate with a level 7 programme. Again, demonstrate your competence in research methods and be able to successfully manage projects. As I say, this is a master's programme, an accelerated master's programme, and by nature of that, there's an expectation that whilst the practice elements are the same as the BSc, the theoretical components are at level 7, and there's a higher expectation from that.
Great, brilliant, thanks, Ivan. And these programmes at MSc level have NMC, Future Near Standards. So could you tell us a bit more about what that means, and maybe just what's the NMC actually stand for?
Well, NMC is the Nursing Midwifery Council. And again, if anybody is interested in becoming a nurse, I'd strongly recommend that you access this website. Just put NMC and you'll bring up our professional body. And within that professional body, and it's all open for public view, are the standards which guide all of our practice from the moment that we educate you, right through to the moment that you have to update on regular periods throughout your practice, and on all aspects of clinical care that you get involved in. Now, the Future Nurse programme is something which has evolved, certainly in my time. There's a recognition of the skills that the registrant, and I'm going to call the nurse, the registrant, offers. There's a recognition of the skills that a professional nurse, the registrant, offers. And what we have tried to do, although what the NMC is trying to do, is try to future-proof the profession. They're looking forward to what is not necessarily the nurse of 2015. What's going to be the nurse of 2025? What's going to be the nurse of 2035? And what we're looking for is somebody who's educated, somebody, again, who's going to be leading somebody, leading a team, somebody who's going to be a coordinator of care, somebody who's going to have a higher level of academic and clinical skills, as I said, commensurate with this role. And the programme is based around seven platforms, which are, again, being an accountable professional, because we have a special position within society. We are a very trusted profession. Promoting health, preventing ill health, that's a phenomenal role and responsibility, to be able to prevent disease rather than treat it. So again, as a strong emphasis on, in the future, being a health promoter, being able to effectively and skillfully assess health and plan care, to be able to deliver the care, provide care, evaluate care, coordinate care. And leading on to that is leading and managing nursing care, working in teams, coordinating teams. It's all about improving the safety and quality of care. Communication, etc., and the procedures that go alongside with that. It's an amalgam of theory and practice. And then, as you start to move through your profession, you start to think, well, what exactly kind of nurse do you want to be? Do you want to be somebody who's clinically based? Do you want to be somebody who wants to go into education, into research, into management? And again, this is what the master's programme is doing. It's providing you with this insight into a different level of care, because care can be delivered in different ways. But whatever way it's delivered, it has to be delivered skillfully and by the best informed people.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ivan. Had a couple of questions asked in the chat here. Thank you very much for that. Please do keep them coming. So first question asked if we could expand on the 770 fee requirements, please. So I think they're just referring to the entry requirements of the 770 hours.
Well, what we'd like is that you've had some kind of paid employment in the healthcare world. And we do realise that when people are coming into the programme, that healthcare is a broad environment. And where we look for is we look to see how we can map your theory, your knowledge and your practice to the skills and competencies that you normally have achieved in year one. For example, have you been involved in some kind of clinical skills? And when I talk about that, communicating with people in a clinical environment, that can be in many clinical environments. That can be working in the community, that can be working in a care home. Have you been able to demonstrate your abilities to do personal care to somebody? And again, that could be feeding somebody. Now, feeding is a very, very complicated process. And I don't think people often realise how complicated it is. You're assessing the person, you are becoming intimate with that person, you are supporting them, you are trying to meet that person's needs because presumably they can't meet that person's needs. It's recognising the skills that you've got as well and being able to document the skills that you've got. And what we do is we do an event where we ask you to come in, we provide you with a portfolio and we show you how to start to map your skills and how to start to reflect and demonstrate how you've achieved these skills, to provide evidence from an employer that you've been in an employer where you've achieved 770 hours. And certainly the learning, we could look at maybe courses that you've done, health and safety courses, maybe somebody's worked in a care home, you've done moving and handling courses, you might have done a health and safety course, you might have done something along the lines of communicating with people, things that you've done which are relevant. And it's for us to support you and help you to demonstrate what you've done. Okay. And again, what we do is we realise that people come from a different environment, different environments, and part of our role when you come onto the programme is to essentially identify the areas that you have to learn to move forward in the second and third year, but also identify and try and support you in the areas that you feel you need a little bit more support in, maybe a little bit more practice in, maybe a little bit more guidance in. And ultimately, our role is to try and ensure that the right people are on the programme who've got the skills. And if you haven't got the skills at a particular point in time, how we can maybe guide you and advise you as to the strategies you need to take to achieve them. Because I have to say, I think this is a really, maybe I'm being a little bit biased here. I think this is a really, really interesting programme. I think that the potential opportunities from this are boundless, really. I think the power to improve people's lives, either as an adult nurse, learning disabilities nurse, a children and young people's nurse, a mental health nurse, are phenomenal. And your ability to shape practice. And shaping practice and improving people's lives not necessarily has to be at a strategic level. It can be just through the little things that we do, but knowing how to do those little things. And our role is to support you and get you through that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ivan. We had a second question come through here as well, asking if the start date for the course is April, and then if so, for 2023 entry, so April 2023, when would applications open? Again, just roughly, if you know, at this point in time.
We'll be looking at probably a September 22 and then a September 23 from there. Okay. So we'll follow the usual academic application process.
Great. Yeah. So maybe a slight, because we have had April intakes, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, the thinking behind that is that it's a better use of resources, and it's also a better experience for yourselves, because you'll be coming in when the rest of the university starts. Because remember here, you're going to be learning to be a nurse, And that's something that we're all passionate about here, that you are going to train. You know where you are going the moment you start. You're going to be a nurse. That depends on the kind of field you approach. But you're also a university student, and you're a Keele student, university student. That's something to be proud of. And as being a Keele University student, you need to be involved in the Freshers' Week, you need to be involved in the societies, and you need also to have access to the facilities that are available to all different types of students. There needs to be equity across the programmes. And what we're finding is it's far better that we align to the academic year.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ivan. If anyone does have any further questions, please do pop them in the chat on YouTube and Facebook, and we'll answer as many as we've got time for today. For now, Ivan, a few more questions that we've had in advance of this. Could you just give us a bit more information about how the MSc nursing programmes are taught at Keele?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, what we try and do is to try and teach things which are highly relevant. We're going to be trying to teach things which are contemporary and up to date. And I think one of the advantages of Keele here is we've got the people are going to be teaching you industry experts. We've worked in clinical practice for many, many years. I worked in clinical practice for 18 years before I came into education. We've done advanced training in particular things, and we look to support you with, as I say, appropriately trained professionals. We look for something which is an inquiry-based programme. We don't want to be looking for didactic teaching. We're looking for blended teaching. We're looking for something which is also an inclusive teaching approach, because we realise that not everybody learns in the same way. Some people are visual learners. Some people like other forms of learning. Whatever we try and do, it's underpinned by the student-centred philosophy. And again, we try and support your needs. So we ask you, what do we need to support you? Is there anything we need to help you with? We try and give you different stimulating approaches. We look at problem-based learning, simulation. Certainly practice-based learning is going to be 50% of your programme, working in clinical practice, as well as your theoretical side, lectures, skills workshops, etc. So there's seldom are the assignments the same. Different assignments test people in different ways, but we recognise that we've got to support people in different ways. And because the programme is 50% theory, 50% practice, theory informs practice, practice informs theory. We can't do one without the other. And you know, this is what we will need to do. You'll have practice-based assessments, doing clinical skills. You will have reflections to undertake in clinical practice. As I say here, there'll be an amalgam of examinations, simulations, etc., tutorials, group presentations, individual presentations, dissertation.
Great. Thanks for that, Ivan. So obviously there are placements as part of these programs as well. So appreciating that these things can kind of change from year to year. Have you got any kind of indication of where placements may take place, or just more broader maybe the different types of experiences that you would get while out on placements?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just bringing up my if I turn away to one side, I'm not being rude, I'm just looking at my course plans here, just to give an overview. So as an adult student, you'd be looking at an amalgam of sort of hospital-based and community-placed areas, speciality type placements as well. As a child student, you may be working in the neonatal intensive care unit. As a student nurse who is going to be working in mental health, there'll be inpatient services, crisis specialists, children and adolescent mental health services, outpatient services. And for learning disability students, again, community respite care, NHS adult placements. What we try and do is we're trying to increase our placement circuit almost on a weekly basis, because as healthcare changes, people's requirements, people's requirements change, and healthcare changes with them. Services merge, services expand, services contract. So we look to see what are the current most appropriate places for students to work with. So we work with our community partners, being the traditional NHS, and increasingly the voluntary sector as well, because we realise that not all care is delivered by the NHS, it's also delivered by private partners. Charity sectors as well. Homelessness services as well is areas that may be coming up in the future, because wherever there is a person, there is a healthcare need. Wherever there is a healthcare need, there should be somebody who's available, who's skilled to be able to support that. And that's what this programme recognises, is we're not static. It moves with society, it moves with different types of care provision. So that is something that when you come on the programme, one programme, there may be different placements compared to students who've undertaken it either before or after you, just because of the way in which the circuit has shifted, and also the opportunities which have come forward. I mean, I've certainly got a few ideas of areas which I'd like to expand on, but not for me to discuss right at this point in time. But yeah, it's wherever really the area of care. And I think it's worth also thinking that there's skills that have to be learned to meet the Nursing and Midwifery Council regulations. They're an absolute. But those skills can be learned in a multitude of areas, because, you know, we deal with people in different areas. A child student may have the occasional crossover with an adult student, with a mental health student, but we all go off onto our own individual areas to develop our own clinical specialities. Okay.
Great, thank you, Ivan.
Yeah.
Had a question asked here relating to the entry requirements.
Yeah.
So, is the healthcare experience of 770 hours more important than having 770 healthcare theory hours? They said that the concerns that they'll be new to healthcare from August 2021, but are planning to apply for the MSc Adult Nursing Programme for 2022 entry.
Yeah, well, what we're doing there is we're looking at your degree, we're looking at the things that you've done, and we're looking at to say, I mean, what we're doing is we're doing this. It's an equivalent of this recognition of prior learning. It's something which is equivalent to, and this is what we would look at to say, well, what have you done? What does this particular training that you've done equate to? What does this level of knowledge that you've got equate to? What have you read? We might direct you to some resources to read. We might give you some things to read, which will contribute to that learning as well. Okay, so we're trying to support you in achieving these aims. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Ivan.
Yeah.
Probably got time for one, maybe two final questions here.
Yeah.
So what would you say is different about nursing at Keele then, and why should somebody consider studying nursing at Keele specifically rather than other universities, would you say?
I was going to say anything, I'd say the kindness. I think the staff are kind. I think the staff are responsive to student need. I've had this very conversation this morning. I think the staff are exquisitely competent. Staff have got as I mentioned before, they've got a phenomenal raft of experience. They approach their duties in a very pragmatic and a very professional manner. Many staff have got doctorates, PhDs, and many staff are working towards them at various stages. And that is something where they develop an expertise in particular areas of clinical practice. Staff are actively engaged in research, and we translate the research into the programme. Again, it's not uncommon to have the professors teaching this programme. Very much so professors, certainly research active staff. again, we can talk about the things that we're doing whilst we're teaching. The environment itself, the physical environment, you've got a purpose-built building, Darwin building. You've also got the access to the clinical skills laboratories in the clinical education centre of the Royal Stoke University Hospital. You've got, as well as the Keele Library, University Library, we've got our own health library within the clinical education centre of the Royal Stoke University Hospital. And as well, you've got a very, very, very interesting area in which to do your practice. And that practice is within an area which is very, very rural and also urban. And that gives you quite a unique perspective on healthcare. An awful lot of different health needs are contained within the local area, our catchment area here. We can have different health needs from one end of Stoke to the other, which will be different in the Cheshire region, which will be different up into the Leek and to the Cheadle area, the more rural areas. And that in itself provides a different perspective on healthcare, and that will, by working with a very, very, very cosmopolitan and diverse population, give you such an interesting, enriching experience. And I think it's, for me, it offers almost a full package.
Brilliant, thanks, Ivan. We have had a couple of final questions come through. Yep. I think we probably, if we're quick, we can probably just about fit them in, I think. So first of all, would it be acceptable to achieve 770 hours experience between 1st of August 21 and 31st of March 2022 for an April 2022 start? So first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you say it's actually going to be September 2022?
Yeah, we're going to move that to September, just so it's equitable. Yeah, we're shifting to that. That's the proposed model at the moment.
That's fine. And is it possible to achieve those hours experience?
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Fantastic, brilliant. And just one final question then, just asking how you would go about achieving the theory hours.
I think we'll support you with that. As I say, it may well be that we'll ask you to. I mean, I was chatting to somebody recently, and I was asking them to go online and read some documents on particular topics. I think something was on communication. I advised somebody to read a couple of accessible nursing journals because they had some interesting articles on COVID precautions, and that would link into sort of personal protection. They could also use maybe some literature that they've gained from a course that they've been on whilst within an employer, something they've done whilst undertaking an induction program. When you come, we guide you. We guide you to things and to resources and to sources which we think will be of use to you. And we're there to sort of nudge you along and guide you. Because what we're looking at is, we're not going to expect to go out and do a course which is going to get 770 hours. It's demonstrating that you've demonstrated, we've recognised you have the equivalent of. Yeah, brilliant. The equivalent of. And that can be so but by the practice, but also that you've also looked into what you're doing. From my perspective, it starts the inquiring mind. It starts the inquiring mind. Maybe if you've done a psychology degree, maybe if you've done a health studies degree, you've got a lot of interesting material you can pull off straight off from there, straight away, without even having to think. But yeah. All I'll say to you is apply and come and talk to us.
Thanks, Ivan. That's great. Unfortunately, that is all that we're going to have time for there. But thank you very much for joining us for this live Q&A for the MSc Nursing Programmes at Keele, part of today's virtual postgraduate open afternoon. Many thanks, Ivan, for joining us to answer all them questions today. Apologies if there were any that we didn't get a chance to get to. Ivan, however, is available on Unibuddy. It's going to be around until 6 p.m. today as part of the virtual postgraduate open afternoon, but it's possible to contact Ivan in future as well. Now I know Tim in the chat, he's asked Ivan if he could ask you a couple more questions following this. So we'll get Ivan's Unibuddy profile in the chat there. Brilliant. Tim, please do feel free to contact Ivan, and anybody else who's got any follow-up questions, that would be great. Coming up next, Tom's just going to be wrapping things up with a Q&A with current Keele students. Otherwise, we hope that you found this Q&A useful, and we hope that you enjoy exploring everything else on offer as part of today's virtual postgraduate open afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John, and thanks, Ivan. So they are the end of the two of our Q&As there with the Keele Business School and nursing as well. So thank you both. I'm going to be joined, as John said, by Emily and Amy in just a moment for a quick Q&A. So if you've got any questions you want to ask them, pop them in the chat now, and I'll make a note and ask them. But just before I get those back on, I'm going to go through everything that you need to know as part of today's Postgraduate Open Afternoon, just in case you missed anything. So heading still available too. And you can contact people there. I'm sorry, you might not have been able to hear me for just a second there. Let me just check. I don't think you could, so I'm going to run through that just again. So, so just to say, you can head to keele.ac.uk/chat, and you should have had an email with all of the information here in the Postgraduate Open Afternoon in, and it'll take you to this landing page. So again, staff are available for another 45 minutes, so if you head to keele.ac.uk/chat, you can ask your questions and someone should answer them within the next 45 minutes or so. But again, if you think of a question later tonight or beyond today, don't worry, keele.ac.uk/chat is always still available to make use of throughout the time applying to us at Keele as well. So I'm going to finish up with a quick Q&A with Emily and Amy. So if you've got any questions for them, feel free to just drop them in the chat, and we'll ask them as we go along. So let's bring them back now. Have we got both of you? Yes, we do. Here we go. Hello. Welcome back. Okay, so for anyone who's just joining us, let's give you a chance to introduce yourselves. So do you want to tell us who you are and what study you course, starting with you, Amy?
So my name's Amy, and I am a second-year PhD student studying English literature.
And Emily, same question.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm currently doing my Masters in Human Rights Law, but I also did my politics undergraduate here as well.
Smashing. So I guess, what was your kind of journey to postgraduate study then? Amy, do you want to talk through yours of how you ended up deciding on your degree?
Yeah, so mine was a little bit unusual, really, because I did my undergraduate degree at 18, like a lot of people do, at a different university to Keele. And then I went into the workplace for 11 years. So I had a variety of jobs, and I did things like buy a house and get married and all sorts of other stuff. And then I decided that I wanted a career change. So I came back to do my MA at Keele at the age of 33, and then stayed on to do my PhD so that I could potentially go into academia. So eventually I would like to lecture. So it was slightly different because I was both an off-campus commuter student and also a mature student. So that made my experience maybe a little different to people who've gone from undergraduate straight to postgraduate.
Awesome. And Emily, what about you?
So like Amy, I did my politics degree at the age of 18. I did politics at A-level, so I really liked it, so I just carried on. And then I really liked the human rights side of things, so I decided to do a master's to focus more on that. But also, once I'd finished my degree, the coronavirus pandemic was a thing, and I realised I probably wasn't going to get a job. It's going to be really hard. So I decided to carry on and get a year's worth of experience.
Nice. And kind of in terms of living then, do either of you live off campus, on campus? Kind of what's your setup at the moment, and have you got any tips for anyone who's choosing accommodation both on campus or in the local area. So Emily, what about you? How's your accommodation at the moment?
So I've lived both on and off campus. I think it's really good for first years to live on campus, just to throw yourself into things, all the societies are generally on campus and you've got the SU and that, and it's a really good way to make friends in your accommodation. But second and third year, we moved off campus. There's not enough rooms on campus for everybody, so second and third year generally get a house with their friends, which is what I did, and I lived in Newcastle. And I just commuted onto campus. But now I am back on campus again for my master's. So I've lived in New Barnes and I've lived in the Oaks.
Amazing. And Amy, same question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm off campus. So I lived on campus during my undergraduate degree and went into student halls. And I was really glad to do that in my first year because it did help me to settle in and meet friends and things.
Awesome. And I think you made an interesting point earlier that actually you found that you joined more clubs and societies during your postgraduate than you did in your UG. So do you ever feel like you're missing out on campus life or anything like that?
You can sort of rent by the term. Again, there's a way of applying for that. So it did mean that I had somewhere that I could always come up and put my stuff. And if I was on campus all day, I could kind of wander around and enjoy campus life. So, and sometimes I just don't mind commuting back a little bit later because I miss all the traffic. So I joined a society to play Dungeons and Dragons. And we used to do that on a Friday night until about 10 o'clock. And then I drove back home. It was great. Loved it.
So Amy, apparently we couldn't hear you for that first bit, so I'm going to get you to tell. We heard the second bit, which was great. So let's rewind back. Do you want to tell us your journey to choosing your postgraduate degree?
So to choosing my postgrad, so I had a slightly different journey into postgraduate because I didn't do it straight after my undergrad. I went to postgraduate in my 30s. So I'd had a career for 11 years before I came back to do postgraduate. So I did my undergraduate degree in English and then went out and worked and then came back to do postgrad because I wanted a career change to go into academia, which is why I then stayed on to do my PhD.
Nice. Thank you both. Hopefully the gremlins in the system have now left us and we could hear everyone again. Amazing. So yeah, in terms of clubs and societies, then, which kind of clubs and societies did you get involved with outside of your postgraduate studies? Emily, let's start with you.
So I did netball in first year, and then I moved off campus and I didn't have a car, so getting the bus and training was sometimes late, so I didn't do it in second and third year. And then I really wanted to do it this year, but because of coronavirus, it wasn't really the same, so unfortunately I didn't get to do it. You could still join, but it's not really the same this year, so hopefully
it was very different.
Hopefully that'll be back to normal by next year.
What about you, Amy?
So I joined Cura, which is the Keele University Role Playing Association. They don't just do role playing; they also do so they do Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop gaming and board gaming and card gaming and all sorts of. It's kind of home of Keele's kind of societies for that board games, tabletop games, anything like that. And then I also set up and run a postgraduate book club within the humanities and social sciences. And we've been doing both things virtually this year. So it's been different, but we have still been able to kind of meet online and things.
And the KPA have been doing quite a few things, haven't they, in terms of virtual events and meetups. So I guess everyone's been doing as best as they can be. It's obviously not going to be the same, is it, with especially with things like sport. But it seems like all the clubs and societies have been doing what they can to kind of connect virtually with each other and keep things going even throughout the pandemic. So what's the most memorable thing that you've done during your time studying postgraduate? Off the top of your head. Emily, what about you?
Well, I think for me, probably I got a United Nations internship as part of my course. So one of the lecturers works for United Nations. He's the special rapporteur for modern slavery. So he needed researchers. So he chose 3 of us who applied for the internship. So that's a pretty big deal. That's probably my thing.
Amazing. Awesome. Amy?
It's probably attending my first international conference, I think. So during my master's, I went to present at the international conference sort of on 18th century studies, and that was held in Edinburgh. And I got a bursary from the Keele Postgraduate Association, which helped me to cover travel and accommodation costs. So I went up to Edinburgh for a week and presented to an international audience of scholars in my field and got to network with them, and it was just such an amazing opportunity to have, and it was largely thanks. I wouldn't have been able to do it without the support I'd received at Keele to help me financially to get up there, so it was really helpful to have that.
Both of them, yeah, amazing answers, incredible. And so just thinking back to when you were applying then, put yourself in the same situation as people are in now. What was one thing you wish you knew before you applied for a postgraduate degree? Something that you maybe learnt during your time here. What's the one thing? Well, one top piece of advice you could give? Amy?
I think probably don't be afraid to ask questions. If you've got a question, then get on to UniBuddy and chat, or find a contact for your academic school and email them and ask, or student services or anybody, because people at Keele are so friendly and they genuinely will get back to you and sort of offer to talk you through it, or offer to help you, or point you in the direction where you can find that information. And there is no such thing as a silly question. I ask questions like, am I too old to do this course? And I had, somebody got back to me from the English department and was like, no. And would you like to come and talk to us about what course is right for you and your, and that was so reassuring. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions if you've got them.
Emily?
Yeah, sort of similar. Just, it's not as scary as you think it's going to be. I've had this. I don't take my own advice. I've had this all since first year, all the way through masters. In first year, I took all the modules that I knew really well, and there was some modules I'd never done before that sounded really interesting, but because I'd never done them, I was really scared to take them. And then I was like, no, that's kind of what first year is for. You just got to throw yourself into it. And same with masters. I was so scared. I was like, oh, it's going to be really hard. I'm going to do rubbish. I'm going to get rubbish grades. And it's just not like that. There's so much support. Like Amy said, everyone's there to help you, and they're so supportive. So yeah, just try and sort of myth bust your fears, because they're never as bad as you think they're going to be.
Amazing. Now this question, we'll finish up on this one. This question was asked by someone on one of our previous open days, and I do think it's a very good question. For those who are looking at courses now and looking at postgraduate courses now during a pandemic, who aren't maybe able to go to campus and visit the place that they're hoping to study at, what would you say is the, how can they make that experience a little bit easier? What advice would you give to someone who's looking at a postgraduate degree, but specifically in a pandemic? How would you kind of go about finding everything you need to know about your degree? Emily?
If you can, I'd say you can still come to Keele and have a wander about. You wouldn't be able to go inside the buildings or anything like that. But the campus is open and it's so pretty and beautiful, especially in the summer. So if you're close, if you can get to Keele, I definitely recommend having a wander about. And yeah, utilize Unibuddy and all things like that. Because there's so many students on Unibuddy, so there will be someone who's similar to your course or similar to you who can answer all your questions. So yeah.
Amy?
Yeah, I mean, I'd definitely echo about using Unibuddy, because even if the person on your course is an undergraduate, then they still have an experience of what it's like to come and study at Keele, and they can still tell you what it's like to be at Keele, even if they're in their undergraduate, not their postgraduate studies. But if you've got really course-specific questions for postgraduates, and even if there isn't a course rep, there'll probably be a rep there for academic schools. Or if not, go and have a little look on the website, and there will be a postgraduate lead for nearly every course, and it will say who they are. And just email them or email the academic school, because they will put you in touch with somebody who can help you and can answer your questions, whether that's a student or a member of staff. And they will talk you through it. You know, they'll arrange to have chats with you or video chats or reply to your emails, and they're there to help and support you. So definitely make use of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. Thank you both for joining me throughout the day and giving us a tour of campus earlier on as well. You're both on Unibuddy now for the next half an hour. Is that right? So if you've got any questions for Amy and Emily, find them on Unibuddy, keele.ac.uk/chat. They'll be there waiting for your questions for another 30 minutes, as will staff from across the rest of the university as well, from admissions, student services, fees and funding, careers and employability. All those are online for another 30 minutes. But again, if you don't get your questions in before then, don't worry. You can always pop back to Unibuddy and someone will answer them as soon as possible. So thank you both. I'm going to wrap up, but again, thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you again soon, and enjoy the rest of your time at Keele. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
So that is it. That is the end of our virtual postgraduate open afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll quickly run through the webpage again, just in case you missed it, on things that you can do as part of the postgraduate open afternoon. So again, if you've had an email from us because you've signed up, you should have a link to this page here, which is kind of the hub, our postgraduate open afternoon hub, where you can go back and watch our welcome video from Deputy Vice-Chancellor Professor Mark Ormerod. You can also then take a self-guided virtual tour, which is virtualtour.keele.ac.uk. And again, that's split into 4 sections, so you can look at various areas of the university and have a look at things like our facilities. So I can have a look at the Central Science Laboratory, watch some videos, see lots of photos and 360s of the spaces around Keele. And again, you can just explore that in your own time, which is really, really nice. And again, you can chat to lots of different areas of the university on this page, which will take you through to our Unibuddy page, which is keele.ac.uk/chat. Again, probably the most invaluable resource at the moment throughout the pandemic, because it's your chance to just chat to lots of members from the Keele community. So you head down and you'll land here, and you can put in I'll refresh from earlier, put in your level of study, and you can put in your area of study as well, and you can chat to either Amy or Emily, who are online for another 30 minutes, as I say, to answer any questions about PG. But as Amy said, to be honest, if your question is about just life at Keele in general, feel free to make use of the undergraduate chats as well, and chat to some of our undergraduates just to find out how they're finding life at Keele. But again, you can then swap over to staff and chat to some of our staff from across the university, like admissions. You can also chat to careers and employability, the international team, lots and lots of different people on Unibuddy, where you can just have one-to-one conversations with them about anything to do with your application to Keele. And then there's also a little blog section with some really, really nice and useful blogs as well that are written by students. And as I said earlier, Amy has written one herself, which is all around top tips for student tenants and finding private accommodation at university. So these pages will stay live for the next few days, so don't feel like you've got to rush to do that before 6 p.m. They'll stay live so you can make use of them as well. And also, when we finish the streams today, they'll also then be made available so you can watch them back as well. So if you want to go back to the campus tour or the KBS, the Keele Business School talk, or the nursing talk, you can do so. So as soon as we end this stream, in a couple of minutes' time, they should reappear and you can rewatch them at your leisure. But that is it. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We hope you found it useful, and we hope to see some of you studying postgraduate degrees at Keele very soon. But otherwise, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.